Hey guys, this is Michael Pizzullo, psychotherapist here in West Hollywood. Want to talk to you about determining the difference between healthy and unhealthy sex for gay men. So just to take a step back, sex is a very complicated phenomenon that human beings, experience and enjoy with one another. I think over the, course of time, we've always been trying to create constructs and paradigms around it to make sure that it's utilized in a healthy way. And I think for good reason, right? Applied incorrectly, sex can be harmful and hurt people and so on and so forth. And applied correctly, it can be very pleasurable and help people connect and obviously procreate and so on and so forth. So I think the concept of having guardrails around it is a good thing, but we've seen a lot that can also be too restrictive. And for gay men, obviously the guardrails for a long time were that the type of sex that we want to enjoy is just simply wrong. And luckily that has changed to a large degree, and there's a lot of liberation nowadays, which is a great thing. But that leaves us now with the sense of, now that we're given permission to explore sexuality, what is healthy and what's unhealthy? And the truth is, like most gay men, in America, especially in liberal areas, there's a lot of options, from all of the hookup apps like the Grindrs and Scruffs and so on and so forth, to Bathhouses, sex parties, and so on and so forth. Like, there's a lot of convenient and casual sex available, which can, again, given how many options there are, make it more complicated to determine what's healthy and what's unhealthy. And before I give you some ideas, I just want to put the big caveat that determining this is really an individual thing that has to come from you, and it shouldn't be about someone imposing their ideas on you. But I think there are ideas that we can sort of spitball and come up with together that you can begin to start thinking about how to make your own paradigm around all of this. So in terms of what's healthy, I think you're always going to want to go for what expresses your organic desires. So not forcing yourself to do anything you don't want to do or that you just don't even enjoy, but really following your natural creative sexual expression, sort of like how you are, like certain foods, that sort of a thing. And then the other thing is just going to be about having a level of mutual respect. I think, healthy sex does not have to exist only within some sort of monogamous, heterosexual long-term relationship. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that you like each other or you even know each other that well, but there should be some degree of respect there so that, consent is involved and you feel as though your boundaries are being respected to a certain degree. Even if you are going to play around with more kink BDSM type of things that you do in those scenarios, really want to have a clear sense of what the boundaries of mutual respect are. So I would really, just to distill it down to the basics, have those two criteria to start with in terms of expressing something that's healthy for you. And then in terms of what's unhealthy, I think one really good litmus test you can use is thinking about, how do I feel after the interaction? Do I have some sort of emotional hangover? If I leave an encounter feeling invigorated and satisfied, great. But if I leave feeling, ashamed or icky, then I think that can be a good litmus test. And what complicates things, obviously, is that sometimes you can have a little bit of both. So as we know, sex can be quite confusing and mixed emotions can come into it. So that does make it more complicated. But generally speaking, you can start to think about, what is the dominant emotional experience I have after the sexual encounter, to help you get a sense of if it was healthy or not for you. And then in terms of a couple criteria to discern if something was unhealthy, if you're using sex in a sort of addictive or compulsive way, meaning that you're using it to escape your feelings or to numb your feelings, I think that can definitely bleed into an area that's unhealthy. And then if you're doing something, again, that involves lack of consent, lack of boundaries, where the line between enjoyment and also violation is unclear, I would also put that in the category of being something that's usually going to be unhealthy for you and lead to some sort of negative emotional outcome down the road. But again, I think what's most important is that you begin to think about these concepts for yourself and determine what works for you, because what's healthy for me may be very different than what's healthy for you. And the good thing is that now we are in a place where we can actually begin to consider these topics and talk about them in a more open, free way. Some people, for example, feel like spending, the weekend going on several hookups is unhealthy, and then someone else might say that was a great time. And it's really, again, not about quantifying in terms of the number of partners you're supposed to have, or the type of encounter, or the type of sex, or the duration, or anything like that, but really about following your organic interests and passions. So I hope that was useful. Really love to hear your thoughts and curious what people do to help figure out what's organic for them and how they determine what healthy sex is for them.